Hello there internet, Magua here, and I got another video for you guys today, and today my voice is slightly better. So I'm going to try to make up the lack of upload yesterday in a flashy way with a flashy deck and a flashy pun. Please do not unsubscribe, as I am going to be playing some banned flash midrange, in particular a deck list that was built by Andrea Mengucci himself. It is, as you can see, a banned flash mid-range list built around God Eternal Akatra and Vivien, Champion of the Wilds. Now, this is an archetype that has been flourishing a little bit in Standard as of late, though I think as of now that I'm actually throwing myself into it, I think it is falling a little bit out of flavor. I believe this deck is potentially a high tier 2, maybe high tier or tier 1.5, but I don't really think banned mid-range is truly a tier 1 deck. I think it is outclassed by other decks right now in Standard, but it is also quite early to say, really. The idea of this deck is to capitalize on Vivien, Champion of the Wilds, and basically play your creature spells at the very end of your opponent's turn. And because we're running the likes of Frilled Mystic, we can either potentially counter spells anything from our opponent while developing the board at the same time, while also disrupting their board presence with the Deputy Detention, or building up for a late game Akatra that can just spiral out of control, especially if we can get God Eternal Akatra at the very end of our opponent's turn and then just start playing a bunch of little creatures who can just absolutely swarm the board, and it can be a very powerful play in mid-range matchups. Shalai, Voice of Plenty with Flash is also extremely potent, as she gives everything but her hexproof. Therefore, if our opponent is playing a spell targeting one of our creatures, for example, we can flash in Shalai and in a way counter that play. Can also be really powerful if they're trying to go for like a Thought Erasure against us or anything that targets us. The same, we give ourselves hexproof upon entry with Shalai, and therefore we counter their play while developing our board state as well. It's always better to play creatures at the end of your opponent's turn rather than on your own, because that means that if they do have any sort of instant speed answer, they have to use up that mana during their turn and not yours, and that is a very powerful thing to have going for you, right? And is one of the reasons why Flash is one of the most powerful keywords. And the idea of this deck is to have your entire lineup just benefit from said keyword here. So obviously the deck list does have its weaknesses, as it is heavily creature focused, and obviously it can rely a little bit too much on Vivien at certain times. Teferi is very powerful in this deck as well, as it does help out a lot versus control and Nexus matchups. And generally speaking, it's a very interesting list. I think the matchup against Mono Red, it seems pretty favorable, especially because if we do get Akatra onto the board, Akatra is a creature that Mono Red struggles a lot dealing with. They can double zap it potentially, but unless they have that, it becomes extremely powerful. And if they don't deal with it immediately, then the amount of value that you generate with Akatra just creates a wall that will make it so that Mono Red aggro cannot really obtain lethal unless they do so via direct damage spells, right? Which is always possible at that point, but if we combine this with Shalai, they can't even do that, right? So, like, looking at this list, I see the matchup against Mono Red very well geared in our favor, at least, and the sideboard is aimed, as you can see, to potentially improve said matchup with Lara Dawnbringer, but also enhance our matchup against the likes of Control, as we have 2 Dovin's Vetoes and 2 Disdainful Stroke, very flexible counterspell that is heavily used in the sideboard slot, as it can be prevalent against Control, but also potentially against mid-range decks as well. We have 1 extra Knight of Autumn, 2 Vivien Reeds, 2 Time Wipes, alongside 3 Baffling End for more creature-based matchups. Good against both mid-range and aggro matchups, and that is basically the build right there. A big portion of this game's early curve is dedicated to ramp in the forms of Land of Our Elf and Incubation Druid. And on top of that, we got the Growth Chamber Guardian, who can also, use his ability at the end of our opponent's turn. If that's something that I can, like, if there's like one phrase that I can use to define this deck, it's basically at the end of our opponent's turn. That's basically where we get most of our shit going, and hopefully I can showcase this deck in action, and I can provide you guys with some decent banned flash gameplay, as I have not played these past few days. I've decayed a lot because I've not played ever since I made it to Mythic rank, and I was 274. And now I'm 746, so yeah, that's what happens when you don't play for a few days. A lot of people have been making it to Mythic after me, right? So there's obviously like a lot of slots being taken, and if you're not playing the game, then you're gonna be bumped downward. So we're gonna try to climb up a little bit ourselves in a flashy way, of course, and that will be the last flash pun that I will, throw out in this video. And yeah, sometimes, I derp a little bit while I talk and such. I have like a bit of a dry mouth going on. I've been sick for these past few days. Like, it hasn't only been my voice. It's also been like a huge infection. Like a, how do you say in English? Like, basically like a flu. A strong flu that has led me quite incapacitated for, like I said, a few days. But I am starting to feel better. And at least today I have not spent the entire day just like blowing my nose, because that was pretty much all of my yesterday. All of my yesterday was just tissue after tissue after tissue, just blowing my nose. That was my life past Friday. And yeah, thankfully we found the game, and I'm not stuck rambling with myself. Yeah, I take like one day off recording, and I'm already like awkward as hell. What the hell? All right. We're going to choose to go first because it's Magic the Gathering. You opt to go first when you can. And we're looking at a pretty sexy hand here that we are most certainly going to keep. We have a turn 1 Temple Garden, which we're going to go for, onto a land of our elf. And my game is laggy as hell, despite the fact that I just literally reset my computer. Hopefully that ceases to be. We're going to lead off with the Temple Garden because we do have a Hinterland Harbor turn 2. And we can eventually curve out into the Fairy Time Raveler. Though our opponent leading off with the Fanatical Firebrand leads me to believe that he's going to exchange these two, which is the correct play on his behalf. And we're just going to have to take it, cry every time, and develop our Growth Chamber Guardian, aka our Shock/Lightning Strike bait. Because that is unfortunately your destiny, Growth Chamber Guardian. You are going to get zapped. Or not. Or not. Maybe I did get ahead of myself there. See, I have several options here. The problem is 2 of those 3 options, which I just labeled several, require me to pay 2 life for this breeding pool. And against mono red aggro, I think I've already paid enough. So I am not going to take that approach. Instead, I'm going to drop this breeding pool tapped, and I'm going to play the second Growth Chamber Guardian. I'm going to attack with neither, because he's definitely going to shoot one of them down, and maybe the other one can survive and work as a blocker for this G2 Lava Runner, though I highly doubt it. I could have played the breeding pool and waited for him to go for the... Oh. He just no respect towards our Guardians at all. This Woobly guy, he's all about the face. That's really all he cares about. And yeah, he drops us down to 14, but at the same time, I have several options again. I could enable the Frilled Mystic, but that would require for me to pay 2 life. I could play Teferi Time Raveler and return this to his hand, but I don't think that helps me all too much. Or I could just proc one of these and have a 4/4 protecting me. And I gotta think what's gonna help me out the most. I think that's my best play, because Teferi's minimum tempo. Yeah. So I'm gonna drop this tapped, which enables me to potentially throw Mystic next turn. And the question is, do I go for it now, or do I wait for him to zap me? I'm gonna go for it now. The reason why I'm gonna go for it now is because if I don't, and he plays another instant or sorcery, then he could potentially trade these 2 into my Growth Chamber Guardians for free. He would not have to waste a single spell, because he doesn't opt to attack though. Alright. I definitely want to keep the Frilled Mystic enabled here. I'm 1 mana away from getting a Hydroid Krasis that will heal me too. And I have a pretty powerful lineup. I could also go for this growth and then drop another growth Chamber Guardian. But I'd rather have the counter spell enabled. I believe that's my best play. I basically deny his next play, regardless of what it is. He could try to zap me here. He does not, though. He's just lining up his creatures there. Interesting. What do I do here? How do I reach these kids? I could go for a big Hydroid Crassus that would enable me to, like I said, heal up too. Gives me a 4/4, but I'd rather always have this Frilled Mystic enabled. I can just, in the meanwhile, I can just set up my board state here. It's a little bit too early to attack. I'm gonna keep creating this wall. There we go, and I'm gonna counter that. Now that we counter that, from this point onwards, we can start being a little bit more aggressive. And, or just get the conceit out of our opponent. It's very interesting that he opted to go for, like, the shock earlier. But, regardless, I'm gonna slap in a couple of Liar Dawnbringers. I'm gonna add in, Baffling Ends for sure. I think Knight of Autumn also makes sense, as it is an answer for Experimental Frenzy, and potentially can just gain me 4 health. Which is really solid. Teferi Time Raveler doesn't really do much in this sort of matchup. Sorry. My nose. Frilled Mystic is also a bit slow here, especially now that I'm on the draw, but at the same time, Deputy Attention is pretty unreliable. Vivian is also But so, like, there's a lot of, like, cards, like, right? Like, we have Llanowar Elves, which died to Chain Whirler. I definitely think I need Time Wipes. I'm gonna drop Vivian down to 2. And Llanowar Elf down 1. It may seem a bit weird, because I am making my curve bigger this way. But I'm also making it so that if I reach turn 5, the game suddenly really goes in my favor. This is not a favorable hand, though. We're going to have to mulligan it. This is even worse. Which means we have to mulligan again. And this is just kind of like, you know, whatever. Just whatever happens, happens. We just got to keep drawing lands. Because there's no way our Incubation Druid is living. And yeah. I'm gonna try to play the Incubation Druid now. Even though an argument could be made for playing the Howl Fountain, this is not gonna live anyways, but I don't know. Maybe we could be a little bit optimistic here. In what world does this Incubation Druid, like, not die immediately, though? Like, that's... I mean, that wasn't the most efficient turn for him, so at least we got that out of him in that sense. We're gonna drop the Knight of Autumn, because at this point, we just need to buy time. So we're gonna gain 4 life. Hopefully we can make it to turn 5, we can play Akatra, and Akatra lives. And this Steamkin doesn't just completely obliterate us. I'll take the hit. I have to take the hit. He may just go for it. draw so much. Well, I don't think I've ever seen a more obvious Frilled Mystic ever. And I have to go for it now. Alright. Well, be nice to draw into whatever. In Akatra we trust. In Akatra we trust. We need to bait out some sort of play from him. Because the problem is if I attack with Akatra. Now we're gonna go. We are most certainly on the clock though. But our opponent is quite literally top decking here. We're going to attack with these two. And we're going to play another Akatra just to proc that one again. Keep the untapped one naturally. I'll decline that, and we're going to call that a turn. There's no top deck that can give him lethal on us. That is certainly spooky though. But a Frilled Mystic is pretty good. We attack with these two. And with you. You can block there. You can block there. That's fine. With this Frilled Mystic draw, we're actually going to get him. which is pretty insane. Oh man, we took it all, but it didn't even matter. It didn't even matter. Like he could have top decked anything. We would have been able to counter it. And take him down. There we go, boys. Easy 2-0 on mono red aggro. I'm still not sure if my sideboarding was correct there. Because, like I said, I amped up my curve quite a bit. But, like I said, if I reach turn 5 onwards, the match definitely tilted in my favor. So, yeah. Let's go for another one. And, yeah, hopefully we top deck like that again. I mean, like I said, that game I just took a beating until that point. And I do feel like my opponent did misplay a little bit in the first game as well. But unfortunately for him, we kept the shit out of him from Mythic Rank. He's going to have to dwell in Diamond a little bit more. Can't say I pity mono red players too much. I don't judge people for what deck they play, but I also am not forced to pity them either. I'm going to keep this low. Okay, mono red the movie. I'm gonna set up this Brigand Pool. I'm not gonna take extra damage to play a land or elf. That's just gonna die. This is not worth it. We're gonna drop him now. We're gonna play the Hyaline Fountain. From next turn onwards, we can potentially I don't know. It's looking rough. It's already looking rough. I could play. I think I'm gonna play Frilled Mystic. I think I'm gonna play Frilled Mystic. My opponent with the crazy curve here. Steam King galore, and I'm not even main deck. This is why I need stuff like Time Wipe in this matchup, though. Okay. It's safe to assume we're pretty dead. When your opponent has triple Steamkin, it can get a little bit rough, so we are going to go ahead and take that L, slap in these Baffling Ends, a couple of Lyra Dawnbringers, a couple of Time Wipes, maybe even another Knight of Autumn. Deputy of the Tension and Vivian of the Wild are, like I said, a bit of a liability here. Hydrate Crassus, perhaps, can be toned down a little bit too. Like I said, my 5 drops are just really legit, but at the same time, I don't want to like over rely on them. I can drop one Akatra instead. Like I do need my early game, but unfortunately, Land of Elves are super vulnerable though, especially because our opponent into Fairy Time Ravel just doesn't do much in this matchup. This is a difficult matchup to like sideboard for, honestly. Like I'm not sure what the correct line of play is. I'm not sure what the correct decision is. But one Dovin's Veto, and perhaps one Deputy of the Tension for tempo's sake. I think I'll go with this. I mean, now that I'm on the play, it definitely should be easier for us. I'm gonna keep. It's not the fastest hand, but at the same time, it's a hand we'll be able to curve out with. And we got quite a bit of healing as well as we draw into a Growth Chamber Guardian, aka I'm gonna get shocked Guardian. But at least he did sponge some damage, right? That's always a good thing. We are going to, on this empty board state, we're going to play Vivian, Champion of the Wilds.
Wild animals I like.
I should be putting my
Not
headphones
so
on.
much.
Problem is with my weak
You can
voice.
Still walk away.
Okay, it has to be a creature. But hey, I exchange with a
Let's
shock
do
now.
this again.
Well, we're not gonna do that in a while. Vivian, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna use these Knights of Autumns to like buy me some time before I resort to. I'll just block. Before I resort to Deputy Detention and fun police this guy. I'm just gonna start gaining life, building up so that I can reach a certain point in the match and then I can turn this game around. Problem is, I want to preserve this last Knight of Autumn to answer an Experimental Frenzy. So as much as I want these Crasses, this Crassus can just sponge one of those zaps, and then the next one can potentially try to trade with this. There's Akatra. Like I said, once I reach this stage of the game, the Knight of Autumns have bought me enough time to enable me to get Akatra in safe, and I'm in a stage where my life is not threatened, and my opponent is just absolutely forced to yep. And from this point onwards, we are just good to go. I have a total of 6 mana, which means I can go for the Incubation Druid. And I can keep my Frilled Mystic in the back. And good gal Akatra can just keep me safe. It's all about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about making it alive. Not even gonna attack, just gonna build up my board. Because this right now can't trade with these two. It's fine. Who needs to attack? Establish dominance by just flooding the board. Attacking's for pussies. Alright. Like I said, it's all about making it turn 5. Akatra is just such a win play for us, though. It's more relevant. She's more relevant than Time Wipe, realistically. Like, Time Wipe is still important as a one-off, but I need to ensure that I can play Akatra on turn 5. If I can make it to turn 5 with Akatra, I'm just good. The only issue with that statement is that I actually have to make it to turn 5, and that, like I said, that's just easier said than done, man. Alright, we're gonna try. I don't know. I kind of wish my early curve was a bit more flexible for this matchup. Okay, we got removal for a Steamkin, which is what we lost to the first game. And we got Lyra Dawnbringer, so we have our turn 5. I repeat, we have our turn 5. Okay, yeah, we are 110% gonna Baffling End this. Ain't nobody got time for you, buddy. I'm sorry. No, sir. Obviously, this is a temporary, solution. Okay, he's gonna do that and then shock me. But at least with this line of play, I bought some time for this. Like, not only do I not receive damage from it this turn, but I also, like I said, I do want to have Night of Autumn to potentially deal with an Experimental Frenzy, because that's one of the things that can definitely lose me the game. So going for her now certainly seems like a mistake. So we're going to drop the Grotchi Modernity here. We're going to play the Breeding Pool without taking any extra damage. And next turn we're going to attempt to drop Lyra Dawnbringer on him. I definitely do want to block that to potentially stop a line at the stage. Now we play Lyra Dawnbringer. Hopefully he doesn't find hopefully he doesn't have a lava coil in his hand. That's a lava coil, okay. Alright. So at this point, we just need to stabilize. Which is obviously easier said than done, but he is running out of steam a little bit. So we're going to go with this onto this. to buy us a little bit of health. Keep Lyra there as a blocker. I should probably start attacking him. Yep. Okay, beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's so perfect. I'm just gonna do this now. Grab the last one here. Let's smack him. I get that thick health. And I'm gonna preserve that counter spell for any shenanigans that could actually potentially stop this. We are going to let that resolve. Like I said, we're only going to counter something that will change the pace of this match. And as of now, no matter how much he floods this board, I mean, there is always a limit to everything, but no matter how much he floods this board, all I need... Ooh, this is tempting. This is tempting, but it's actually unnecessary. It is actually absolutely unnecessary. We just swing with you. Like, shall I... What's safer? I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, I'm just being nitpicky here, but what's safer? To keep this? Or to play you? What's, like, mathematically, what's safer? Because he could have Experimental Frenzy. So it's always safer. It's always safer to keep the Frilled Mystic. Because with Experimental Frenzy, he could potentially just keep coming, and plow through my Shalai and then my Lyra. But if he doesn't... Forfeit incoming in 3, 2, 1. GG. 2 in a row! 2 birds, 2 mono red birds shot down in a row, my boys. Oh my god. Okay, that's enough for today. I need to. I can't overdo it. Oh, that was pretty good though. Not bad. Nice recording session. Anti-mono red band. Not even bad. Getting back up to top 500 in Mythic. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll try to climb some more. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like for mono red hatred. Embrace the anti-mono red in my chat or in my comment section down below. And hopefully I'll throw a little bit of this awkwardness away as I keep the uploads coming. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a solid day. Hope you enjoyed the deck. I didn't get to showcase as much Vivian or basically like a lot of like the new cards from War of the Spark. Like it was mostly Akatra, but I've already used Akatra in the thumbnail. I still think I did get to use Vivian Champion of the Wilds once, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and add Vivian Champion of the Wilds onto the thumbnail because I got to play her one game. That one time I went -2 and I found a Knight of Autumn with her, and that makes her absolute MVP of today's session. Fact. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a solid day. Stay tuned for daily MTG content. I love ya. Hopefully I get my voice back soon to 100%, and I appreciate all the support. So yeah, have a solid day, and I said that like fucking 5 times already. God damn it. Bye.